prize cards laid down. There's a lot of special energy in the prizes.
If you couldn't tell, Michael's playing Lugia, and there is 5 energy in the prize cards. That's not what you want to see. Meanwhile, for Justin, you got a couple energy and that Radiant Greninja to go along with it. Yeah, the Radiant Greninja and a Colress's Experiment being, and a Battle VIP pass, right? This kind of harms the ability for these Lost Box decks to get off to a great start. But with Michael being low on energy, can't capitalize with the right amount of attackers in order to get an early lead himself. So when we kind of take these two stances and put them up against one another, it could be anyone's game here as we head into the Charlotte Regional Championships top 8. Now, Justin does have some technology for this Lugia matchup in playing that Aerodactyl V Star with its Ancient Star ability, able to shut off your opponent's Pokemon Vs in play, but you need to go first to do that before your opponent gets Summoning Star. Michael starting off things right, the Lugia player should, with going first. Has the Lumineon V in the active spot. Capture Energy is nice to kind of put this bench together, but the Lumineon V, you like to be a little bit more agile with it. You want it to come into play so it gets you that supporter and then almost immediately shuffles itself back into play. If Michael's foundational plays to get set up in this first match are a little bit too slow, a little bit too clunky, this just means there's 2 prizes hanging out in the active spot that Justin Bokhari could very easily take down. Well, it's looking like it's going to be far from slow and clunky as you have that Capture Energy grabbing the Rangaroo, and then there's a Quick Ball and an Archeops in hand that's already halfway there. And then a Rangaroo could certainly carry the rest of the way. Quick Ball discards that Archeops. You're going to get one more basic Pokemon from the deck to put on the bench. Lugia V immediately grabbed. And when we have Lugia V on the bench, we've got a sizable Pokemon in the active. At the very least, you know, it can take a hit from Cramorant, maybe buys a little bit of time. You can see that Justin's already going to be under so much pressure for this turn 1 to be equally explosive. Now, it is still a Lost Box deck. Uses cards like Mirage Gate to power up attackers of various types. Justin is playing a Zeraora to be able to try and one-hit KO a Lugia V-Star, and that's one thing Michael's going to have to kind of worry about. Maybe find the... Oh, looking through the list, there's no Dunsparce, just the Manaphy, so this is going to be kind of an awkward game for sure. No Dunsparce. You know, these techs and these cards have to go somewhere to find the spot. So Dunsparce was cut. There's no access to Mysterious Nest, which removes Lugia, a colorless Pokemon, removes that weakness to Lightning. This opens up so much room for Justin Bokhari to use those lightning attackers to get those easy KOs in the mid and late stages of the game. After the first flower selecting Crobat V being sent to the Lost Zone, very cheeky way, you know, to get out of Roxanne or something like that in the later stages of the game. Yeah, Quick Ball now discarding Escape Rope to find another basic. The way Justin has built this deck, it is very Pokemon V heavy. Usually you maybe see the Dragonite and the Drapion as like the only Pokemon V. You can utilize Sky Seal Stone or Forest Seal Stone. There's also the Aerodactyl, there's the Crobat, and the Lumineon. I kind of like that idea, to be honest, because these single prize decks don't get as much mileage as they used to out of forcing the opponent to take 6 prizes. By having Pokemon V, you get even stronger options and utility, and you just don't fear Lugia as much because the Double Dip Fangs is kind of an omnipresent threat. You're just going to be putting down these good Pokemon that allow you to get ahead in the game rather than trying to naturally buy tons of time in a fully single-prized strategy. Lumineon V grabbed off the Quick Ball, and then that in turn grabs Colress's Experiment with Luminous Sign, and this is going to be a great start for Justin Bokhari going second and employing this powerful supporter. The deck doesn't play many supporters at all, but it definitely is going to be playing 4 copies of the Colress's Experiment. Being able to look at the top 5 cards, put 3 of them in your hand, the others in the Lost Zone, it's really a win-win. You're able to get your Lost Zone count up for those cards like Cramorant, for Mirage Gate, for Sableye, and meanwhile, you get to draw 3 cards.
And what's nice too is with such a heavy count of Pokemon V, you can start sending these to the Lost Zone. The ones that aren't good for the current matchup or the current board state, you don't have to worry about drawing into them later. Just send them to the Lost Zone. They're really easy targets. And this has been
Speaking of.
Yeah, Drapion V, not useful for the matchup. Just send it to the Lost Zone. There was those growing pains with the Lost Box decks, right, where you had to make so many difficult decisions, and it's nice to save a lot of your mental strength by having to make easier decisions. Battle VIP pass grabbed off of Colress's experiment, and this is going to be the rest of the squad joining the fray here on turn 1 for Justin Bokhari. I thought he might not be able to respond in kind to Michael's solid turn 1, but it looks like this sequence is going to be more than enough.
And here we see that Zeraora being able to charge that up in potentially one turn to get a big KO with a choice belt is exactly what Justin is looking to do, and we're going to see him here maybe even just attach an energy, kind of have that threat on the board saying, hey, if you don't boss his orders this next turn, it's going to knock you out.
And when you force Lugia to be the one responding to your board state, responding to your bench, it gives you so much pressure and so many ways to then pivot to their response. After the scoop up net brings Comfey back to the hand, the second one from the bench goes into the active for another flower selecting. This is going to be card number 4 hitting the Lost Zone after this decision is made. I can't see the cards now, but this one is definitely a bit harder than what we've seen previously. Mirage Gate sent to the Lost Zone, so that second card must be made of gold.
Or made of a wagon. It was a switch cart. Being able to switch into another Comfey, get another flower selecting off, and that way you can set up for a pretty easy Mirage Gate turn next turn with just the Colress's experiment.
And after that switch card is used, the Comfey comes back into the active. Another flower selecting comes through. Fifth card, now into the Lost Zone. And Aerodactyl V-Star is the target. This is great for Justin. A lot of these cards that aren't useful for this Lugia matchup are just easy targets to send to the Lost Zone. Start building towards the Mirage Gate, the Cramorant, the Sableye, the all-stars of the Lost Zone toolbox.
Again, Aerodactyl V-Star is really great in this matchup. It's in the deck for this matchup, but only if you go first.
Exactly. Once you miss that window of opportunity, you just immediately bail on the Aerodactyl V-Star plan.
Yeah, done wonders in the Mew VMAX deck. And now we're finally seeing it kind of break out into the other decks because Lugia has been so popular. You're like, well, I'm a toolbox deck. I could play whatever I want. All right, I could fit a 1/1 line in here.
And because you see so much of the deck with these chainings of flower selectings and Colress's experiment, you do have a higher chance of getting the Aerodactyl V down when you need it, but didn't really line up this time. And at the end of the day, 5 cards in the Lost Zone in your first turn, your Lightning Attacker prepped on the bench, the threat of Mirage Gate coming through on your next turn means that Michael Battaglia has to respond and boss this up like you predicted, Jeremy. But instead goes for Professor's Research, discarding a boss's orders. So Zeraora is going to live to fight another day.
Yeah, just a ton of supporters in the hand. No way to get a second Archeops in the discard. No way to search for that V-Star. So no option for that boss's orders there. And, oh, wow, we see a ton of Pokemon Evolution Incense. You can find that Lugia V-Star. And there's a second Archeops in the hand, but I don't think there's a way to discard it.
Let's take a deeper look here. It's not looking too good. Evolution Incense does have to be used here. Is Michael going to fear the Zeraora that much? If you have the Lugia V or just one Lugia V-Star in play, you have to have the second Lugia V to protect against, boss, bringing up that Lugia V-Star and the Zeraora with a lot of help taking it down.
All right, what are the odds? Another Primate Wisdom finding the exact card needed off the top. Something like a Quick Ball, Ultra Ball, Aurora Energy would do it.
Those are a lot of outs. I think that we have a good shot here, Jeremy. After this Lugia V-Star is put down for the evolution, Michael just has to figure out which card wants to go on top. Primate Wisdom.
Oh, hiding the card in the back of the hand. I know it's a trainer. Oh, it's an Evolution Incense.
We can find another Archeops to thin down, but this is tough. Do you take the risk of this Lugia V-Star just being on the bench? Do you have to Summoning Star for just one Archeops?
It's rough. If you do, you're able to get the knockout with the Luminion. You can Aqua Return, push up something like the Snorlax in hand, or even the Rangaroo, and kind of give up the one prize. You're not giving up the two prizes against the Zeraora. But the thing about Lost Box is they're very good at picking apart the bench, especially with Sableye and its Lost Mind attack.
And looking at Justin Bokhari's list, you mentioned the Colress's experiment, obviously, but there are no bosses, right?
No bosses orders.
Okay.
There's a Clara as the only other supporter in the deck, and that's to support these Pokemon that are getting knocked out pretty easily by the opponent.
And so that means that this Lugia V-Star is actually a little bit safer than I was making it out to be. All this does mean, however, is that there's not going to be any Primal Turbos, no Summoning Star for this turn, because Michael needs to wait just a little bit longer to get that second Archeops into the discard pile. Hard retreats with the Luminion V and promotes the Oranguru. Very surprising.
Definitely awkward for sure, but is just hoping to find another discard outlet for the next turn. You have the double turbo energy on the Snorlax, which a Thumping Snore only takes 3 energy, so that will be able to knock out pretty much anything in the deck.
After that Flower selecting Battle VIP pass goes to the Lost Zone. I believe that's 6 now.
Yep.
In the Lost Zone, 1 more to activate Mirage Gate. And there is only 1 Psychic Energy and 1 Lightning Energy in the prizes for Justin Bokhari, so a lot of resources still obviously in the deck to be used. And an Ultra Ball now. What's the discard here? A Water Energy and a Comfey. And to look through the deck to find any Pokemon here, the Zeraora is already on the bench. Is there a second attacker that's really good from this position? Just grabs the Cramorant. I was wondering if creeping close to Sableye might be the way to go, but Cramorant is such a beautiful way to have an in-between attacker for kind of your off turns.
It's hit or miss. It does 110 damage, attacks for free, so you don't need to commit energy to it. But the Rangaroo does have 120 HP. There's no Galarian Zigzagoon to add an extra 10 damage somewhere. The other thing, though, if you do 110 damage on this Rangaroo, it has 2 retreat costs. It's going to force Michael to actually commit 2 energy or double turbo energy and retreat it just to get an attack off with something like the Snorlax. So if it sticks around for a little bit longer, maybe Michael won't have a way to retreat. Maybe in a couple turns you can get that Sableye going, Lost Mine, pick up a couple prizes in 1 turn.
Looks like Justin Bokhari's already planning towards a multi-prize turn like that, just quickly double-checking the amount of cards in the Lost Zone. We need 1 more card to put the Mirage Gate online, but yeah, we are up to 6 here. And with Cramorant dealing 110, the Oranguru will be set up for a clean KO down the road. Bench is full. There's Spit innocently for 110. We're back over to Micah Battaglia.
Now, can he find a way to get the second Archeops in the discard? And wow, a turn late, I guess, but the Quick Ball is able to be grabbed.
Beautiful. Quick Ball finally getting that second Archeops into the discard pile. We're going to look through the deck now for another basic Pokemon. And now that there's Manaphy on the bench, the Raikou not really the card you're looking for. Luminion V is being eyed here. Needs a supporter to put the rest of this hand together for certain.
Unfortunately, though, if you want that supporter this turn, you're only going to have 1 bench space for an Archeops, so you're going to have to Summoning Star and hope the rest of the hand is enough for this turn.
Yep, so just goes for the Summoning Star. I wonder if Michael was just really hoping that this Oranguru would go down. You know what I mean? Just opening up that additional slot, getting a free promotion into the active. So Justin Bokhari gets to plan for a stronger turn much further down the road, but also adds a lot of gunk into the machine of this Lugia V-Star deck, right? We only have a Lugia V-Star, Luminion V, the just decent attackers for the deck, but not the key ones you're looking for, the Raikou, the Stoutland V, that do a lot of heavy lifting in these single prize-oriented matchups.
Now, I think I did see a boss's orders in the hand for Michael, so we could see that Primal Turbo, like you just did, attach 2 energy to the active. That way you have your pivot, you can retreat, and you have the option of taking the knockout with a Snorlax on the Zeraora on the bench. You can also take a knockout with Luminion, kind of clear it from play, but that also commits 2 more energy. You're going to have to bring something else up, and I think I like this Snorlax.
Yep, the 150 HP is great. Again, just these Pokemon that can kind of take a hit from Cramorant means that you're delaying this single prize deck, getting the early prize cards that allow them to excel, especially as we head into the mid-late game here. And even if they are damaged, as long as you are in a more proactive spot to fight against the Stabilize, you're feeling pretty okay.
And with that boss's orders and the powerful colorless energy that was found, Snorlax with its thumping snore, able to take the knockout, and 2 quick prizes for Michael. And finally starting to get some of those energy from the prize cards.
Beautifully done. 2 prizes, especially in the single prize matchup here. Finding one of those Pokemon V to get the knockout is great. Thumping Snore is going to put Snorlax to sleep, and then in between turns we roll 2 dice, and they both need to be heads for Snorlax to wake up.
So obviously you just roll that 1 dice, get a tails, and you're good.
So now Comfey's into the active spot. 1 more card into the Lost Zone to activate Mirage Gate. Zeraora is available as an attacker, as is Cramorant, but the right target isn't in the active.
Yeah, that's Zeraora not doing much of anything right now. And these top 2 cards, Water Energy, Ordinary Rod, it seems like.
Very hard decision. There's some energy in the prize cards, but as time goes on, you're going to have to make tougher and tougher decisions about what cards to send to the Lost Zone as the deck gets thinner and thinner. At the very least, this is card number 7, so this is getting closer to Sableye. Colress's Experiment also being employed here. Scoop Up Net, Colress, great options here. Quick Ball is nice as well for future turns, but another energy being offered, and this is where things get very awkward for Justin Bokhari. What are the best 3 in your opinion, Jeremy?
Scoop Up Net is definitely number 1. You're going to be able to Scoop Up Net that Comfey. Bring up the other one. If you have everything, you can get 10 into the Lost Zone this turn, and Sableye would probably be the best attacker right now. You can put some damage on Archeops, take the knockout on Oranguru if you want, and kind of ignore that Snorlax. Hope it just stays asleep forever, you know?
That would be a great line here. If the Snorlax is just asleep in the active, you have to attach extra energies in order to retreat it. That's more energies going into the discard pile and putting a heavy tax on Lugia's late options. Scoop Up Net being used. Comfey, number 2, comes into the active for 1 more flower selecting. Going to go for the quick ball first. He's already looking at the line. Has the Sableye pulled forward. Was there a Psychic Energy in the hand? I know there's 1 in the prizes. There's 1 in the deck we see there.
There's only 2 in the list. So I like the sequencing from Justin here, being able to quick ball for the Sableye, because if you flower selecting and you see Sableye Psychic Energy, there's not much you can do. Unfortunately, the Psychic Energy was on the top of the deck.
Right, exactly. Very, very good sequencing there, just recognizing that I need this other Psychic Energy, and has the Mirage Gate to fish that out directly. Fighting Energy goes onto the Comfey, and then the Psychic Energy goes onto the Sableye.
He still needs to flower selecting for that 10th Lost Zone.
True.
And as long as that happens, you'll be able to Lost Mine.
Yeah, already has the dice there. 9 in the Lost Zone, and then 1 more. Great sequencing, as you said, Jeremy, right? Using the Mirage Gate now to make sure you don't have to make a decision, discard an energy, and now the final flower selecting Forest Seal Stone, and that's going to the Lost Zone.
Yep, especially when you see Energy Recycler as the other card.
All the Pokemon V have been knocked out or sent to the Lost Zone, so you can't really use the Forest Seal Stone from this point. But I love the inclusion. It's definitely the modern cheeky tech for the Lost Zone decks. We also have a bench of that Comfey coming back down, and now we can manually retreat the Comfey into the Sableye if we wish.
There's also the option of not taking the knockout with or on the Oranguru, and just put 60-60 on both the Archeops. Then hopefully you can find Hisuian Heavy Ball, find the Greninja from the prizes, be able to Moonlight Shuriken. That's been the classic play. Is kind of 2-hitting those Archeops, setting them up for a big Moonlight Shuriken or a Lost Mine after a Moonlight Shuriken.
I'm trying to think as well if too many water energies might have been sent to the Lost Zone. Leading up to this, it's going to be a tall order. There's 1 more water being attached to the Comfey. So I think it'll be a very close if there's enough water energy for the Moonlight Shuriken.
So
and now, tough decision about where to put these damage counters.
One thing that also could happen is you put that extra 10 on the Oranguru to knock it out. You grab that Radiant Greninja, set up for a big turn, but your opponent just plays the Manaphy down.
So it has to do a lot of counting here. The Archeops is nice to set them up to be knocked out, but it means you have to have the resources in hand prepared to get the Sableye back out of the discard pile and the Psychic Energy back and get them back into your hand and back into play. And Justin Bokhari might not be as confident that he's going to get another rep of Lost Zone. He's just going to put some damage on the Lugia V-Star, setting up for the Zeraora.
Setting up both of those 2 prize Pokemon to be knocked out in one hit by Zeraora or something like that Cramorant with that Lumineon V. 3 on that Archeops. So that is the 12, ignoring the Rangaroo. That just free prize sitting on the board, but it's going to clear up a bench space for your opponent. That means a second Lumineon V maybe. Grabbing a supporter.
And 2 heads. Snorlax wakes up! So now we've got this Pokemon in the active spot. We don't need to waste a Primal Turbo to attach energies to retreat it. Unfazed Fat is just chilling in the active spot now with the Thumping Snore. Snorlax going to take another KO for the team.
Again, this Snorlax is included for its 3 energy, 180 damage attack, and it also combos well with the powerful colorless energy like you've been seeing. But it also has that Unfazed Fat ability like you just mentioned, specifically for this Sableye and its Lost Mine attack.
When it's in the active spot, exactly, you get just immune to effects. It's harder for these lists to take advantage of it. He's just having a nice nap, doesn't care about what's going on.
Yeah, no Pokey Flute just yet for Justin, but Michael found one to wake up, you know.
I mean, rolling 2 heads, the good RNG's got to come through here, and Archeops with the Primal Turbo now just attaching an energy to itself. This is the undamaged one, and Michael's already thinking about using this as a pivot, using it for its Speed Wing attack. When you're in these single prize decks, you have a lot more options for the attackers that you can take these knockouts with. And if one Archeops can have this dual purpose of setting up the rest of your attackers and being able to take knockouts on its own, you're just double dipping, triple dipping on the value that this list is capable of. Aurora Energy being eyeballed now to be distributed onto the bench. Michael's bench is completely full. What we're seeing now, Jeremy, is the cast of Pokemon that needs to take 4 more prizes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be a tall order. Justin has kind of played his bench and removed a lot of those extra prize Pokemon with that Drapion, with Crobat V, with Aerodactyl V. So Michael is going to have to do it in 4 attacks at least. And with that Manaphy in there, it's also blocking the Raikou.
If over the course of the next 4 turns, Justin Bokhari is able to get another Sableye into the mix, get another Lost Mine up, there's a lot of easy prizes that have been established that we can get the knockout for. Lumineon V can't ever step into the active spot unless it's being set up for Aqua Return. Otherwise, that's going to be a quick 2 prizes for Justin Bokhari. So as things wind down, this isn't the sort of match where it's just a slugfest back and forth, prizes here, prizes there. Justin is just going to slowly turn up the heat, slowly increase the pressure on which Pokemon is safe for Michael Battaglia to be able to use.
I'm also mistaken too. I'm so used to seeing Raikou in these Lugia's lists, but Michael's not playing it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I actually misspoke earlier. The Raikou is not part of the recipe here. Justin Bokhari is still respecting it with the Manaphy.
And that's what it does. It is so prevalent in the metagame that these Lost Box lists have to commit that bench spot to a Manaphy.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Flower Selecting offers up Scoop Up Net and Mirage Gate.
Ooh.
That's a tough choice. I'm not entirely sure what's in the hand right now, but the Mirage Gate's so good for Sableye. The Scoop Up Net is great for just pivoting into the attacker you want. At the very least, we have an energy attached to the Comfey, so we can get this out of the active with just a raw retreat. So I think it might be Mirage Gate grabbed here if the rest of the hand is bad.
I know there's at least a Clara in hand for Justin, being able to recycle that Sableye and Psychic Energy from the discard.
And it brings it right to the hand.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see kind of the same play as last turn, where I'm just going to spread some more damage. If you don't wake up, my next turn's going to be insane.
4 prize turn, he's going to set the Lost Box record. But there's no way you're going to draw 4 excuse me, roll 2 heads again, right, and wake up.
Yeah, no way.
What are the odds? There's no way. Clara gets the Sableye back, gets the Psychic Energy back. Here's the attachment and the bench, the retreat. Lost Mind back in the active spot. 12 damage counters to be distributed any way that Justin Bokhari likes, except for the Snorlax in small text.
Yep. And again, choosing not to take a knockout here because that opens up a bench space for Luminous Sign to search for the Bird Keeper to get out of the sleep. And these are big 2 coin flips here.
Roll it.
The first one was the heads. There we go, tails. Anytime you see him reach for the second roll, you know the first one's at least heads.
So now Snorlax still asleep in the active spot. We have to use a Primal Turbo now to attach to the Snorlax. Wait, no, you can't retreat when you're asleep.
No, yeah. It needs to be Bird Keeper.
I'm being silly, chat, again.
And there's no escape rope, so it's just the Bird Keeper.
Oh, no. Oranguru, Primate Wisdom into Bird Keeper. One time.
Checking to see if it's in the deck or in the hand. It's in the deck. All right, Oranguru, work your magic.
We're going to get a shuffle here after these Primal Turbos. Justin Bokhari cut or tap into the Primate Wisdom of Destiny. When you're the Lugia player, you're always analyzing your play up to this point. Is there anything different I could have done to not end up in the situation where Primate Wisdom has to save my bacon? And there's the cut.
The biggest Primate Wisdom so far of Michael Battaglia's career in this Pokemon TCG.
If you can't get this Snorlax out of the active, we've got another Lost Mine about to come through, but it looks like he just passes. There's 1 heads and a tails. Snorlax still asleep in the active spot, and we're back over to Justin Bokhari. Opens up with Colress's Experiment. Top 5 cards of the deck. A lot of great options offered, and hopefully some easy decisions to go to the Lost Zone.
All I'm thinking is, Adam, do we run it back? Lost Mine, hope to stay asleep again?
Do it. Keep stacking this damage and take a forbidden 6 prize turn. Make it happen. Forest Seal Stone going to the Lost Zone. I didn't see the other option. Hisuian Heavy Ball was offered, so Justin Bokhari can use this now to get Radiant Greninja out of the prizes.
Hey, where you been? Welcome to the party.
And I think when everything's said and done with the energy recyclers, et cetera, there is enough water to employ this Moonlight Shuriken as well. And if I'm in Justin Bokhari's shoes, you can't get tunnel vision.
No.
I'm the type of player that would just love to just keep lost mining over and over again, go mad with power. But you have to be realistic about what your options are for winning the game, not just doing cool plays. Taking some notes now.
And this is something you always see the best players at the top of their game be able to just decipher what cards they have available to them and what cards you need for the turn, for the play that you're trying to go for.
When the Lost Zone decks get into the later stages of the game like this, the deck gets really thin, and you need to know what's in the prizes, what's in your discard pile, especially when it comes to energies to line up these very specific attacks. And you can see double checking every single pile of resources to make sure you don't miss sequence. If you think you have a card that you don't, or if it's in a spot that you think it is and it's not there, you've already committed to a certain sequence, and then you've painted yourself into a corner.
Justin's going so far in the tank, trying to figure out this turn, and it's going to start with getting that Radiant Greninja in play.
Now with Radiant Greninja part of the equation, we do have access to concealed cards to see some more draws, but that deck is looking pretty thin.
You already got everything in hand. Energy Recycler, attach an energy for turn, Mirage Gate, maybe double Mirage Gate, and Moonlight Shuriken's going to be able to take a double knockout on both of those Archeops. And Justin, all of a sudden, turning this game around thanks to Snorlax kind of taking a little nap on the job.
It's a great attacker with great HP, but this is the price you pay, Jeremy. That ability where it cannot wake up unless you roll 2 heads. It is in a deep slumber. There's the attach for turn. Moonlight Shuriken is online. Discard 2 energy from the Radiant Greninja. to deal 90 damage to 2 Pokemon. The Archeops that were tenderized by the Lost Mine now being collected. 2 prizes to Justin Bokhari and Michael Battaglia without any Primal Turbos, no energy acceleration. There's a Tails. Snorlax still asleep in the active.
And you see in Michael's hand, having access to that second Lumineon V the entire time. And still is going to need to play it to search for that Bird Keeper just to get an attack off this turn.
And Justin Bokhari took advantage of the fact the bench was full. The Snorlax was in the active and recognized, I can push my luck a little bit here. If this Snorlax doesn't wake up, I can restrict my opponent's counter plays and get a lot of value. Not only are the Archeops out of the way, but Lugia V-Star's damaged. Oranguru still sitting with 10 HP remaining, and Lumineon V also primed to be knocked out.
One important thing to note here, too, is unless Michael has an energy in hand, there's not a very good pivot Pokemon for this Bird Keeper. You can Bird Keeper into the Lumineon with the energy, retreat, attack with Snorlax again, you're back to square one. And I think there is that Aurora energy, which is good. But if not, you would need to pivot into something like Lugia V-Star, hope you have that last double colorless energy, and attack that way.
It's from this point, it's just completely blown up for Michael. You don't have that agility you need with the energy acceleration, being able to quickly employ an attacker onto the bench, get it set up with the Primal Turbos, and immediately send it in to swing and take a knockout. Now it's manual attachments. It's just going from 60 to 0 here for the Lugia V-Star player. And Lumineon V finally picks up the Bird Keeper. We can get this Snorlax out of the active and draw 3 cards, but it's not looking too good from this position.
And Justin basically brake checked him and had to recover pretty quickly. And so there is that Bird Keeper.
We'll see what Bird Keeper draws. Lugia V-Star comes up into the active. We need 1 more double turbo. There's 2 in the deck. So we draw 3. We still have access to Primate Wisdom. Let's take a look here, Jeremy, at the hand.
Oh, no Bird Keeper found, and you're going to have to discard both of these Aurora energy if you want to attack with Snorlax again. And if not, you're not going to attack this turn. We might see another Moonlight Shuriken, or even just a Lost Mine.
Oranguru didn't get the card he needed before. I didn't see it.
It's nothing.
It's nothing. Just an Ultra Ball, just discarding, thinning down the deck. Versus Research also being discarded. Double Turbo's right there, very close to the top, but did not respond.
Very close to the bottom. That's what it was.
Oh, right. Pardon me. I'm all miscombobulated here.
Michael was nowhere close to finding that Double Turbo off the Bird Keeper or the Primate Wisdom. Is going to have to just do the best you can, thin the deck out. Maybe you can draw into some cards
if your card,
later
honestly,
on,
if the card you need is close to the top or close to the bottom, it ain't in your hand.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Close only counts in horseshoes.
And not in the Pokemon TCG. Manaphy being put onto the bench. Lugia V-Star in the active spot, but no way to attack. Moonlight Shuriken ready to be employed. Has to discard those energies to retreat, like you talked about, Jeremy, just to take another prize this turn.
And that was such a big risk going into the Lugia instead of the Lumineon, because you already had the 1 Aurora energy in hand. And if you were hoping to save it, well, you lost 2 already.
And that's Tails. Snorlax stays asleep in the active. Michael is down to 2 prize cards remaining, and I see 4 prizes worth of damaged Pokemon, 5 even, on the bench. Justin Bokhari just needs to get that Psychic energy back to use a Lost Mine. Just double checking what cards are in the Lost Zone here.
No, Michael's just scooping it up. He is saying, yeah, I do not have it. I am not able to come back in this game. I'm going to save a little bit of time. Go into game 2. I'm going first.
Yeah, the players do have a time extension, of course, for being in top 8. We get 75 minutes on the clock, but we know that these single prize decks do take a lot. There's tons of decisions to be made, tons of sequencing, and we're going into game 2 with still plenty of time. Lost Box finding a clutch win versus Lugia V-Star. And this is important to note, right, Jeremy, that he won this game, Justin Bokhari won this game by kind of exploiting a bit of a small, I would say only a small oversight on Michael's side of just having that bench full and taking advantage of it to just dump a couple free lost mines and prep the bench for later. And that means that Michael can adapt his play. He's not going to make that mistake again. And if you have more chances to bench the Pokemon you need when you need them, this Lugia deck is really going to come alive and be a lot more responsive here in Game 2.
Well, remember, it came down to Michael waiting to use that Summoning Star to get 2 Archeops out instead of the 1, and because of that, benched an extra Pokemon, and from there, just flipped a bunch of tails off of Snorlax's sleep flips.
Very true.
Use that Pokeflute too early, you know? Got the first one, double heads right away, and then after that, it never woke up. It was too tired.
Yeah, Snorlax did a lot of work and then had to take a long break. He paid the price, and who knows if Snorlax will even be employed in this second game. Sometimes, if a card underperforms, a player might sour on it and completely cut it from their next strategy that they're already devising for the second game of this best of 3. Justin Bokhari has a chance now to clean this up in a 2-0 fashion and advance into the top 4.
I think there might be a broken sleeve or something like that.
All right, they're just going to figure this out. But a lot of shuffling happens. You know, sleeves get damaged. But the judges there on the table, everybody usually does have spares.
Well, we can go ahead and talk about some of the other updates that we have in the rest of our top 8 games. Aiden up against Jose. They are playing the Galarian Wheezing Eternatus mirror match in top 8. I don't know if that's as much of a fun one as I want it to be, but they're going to a game 3. And then you have Julio up against Charlie. That is Lugia up against Reggie Gigas. They're also going into a game 3. And then Noah with the Vikavolt is up 1 game against Rowan and that Mew VMAX.
The one thing I have to mention about that is we've concluded 1 game here on stream, and these players are already on game number 3. So we know that this game 2 for our top 8 match is going to be a slog, especially with Michael Battaglia's back against the wall. Every single decision has to be very specific. If you don't just get the miracle Ultra Ball discard 2 Archeops, just cruise into victory kind of setup, and you're forced into these heavier decision-based lines of play by your opponent, then it is going to take up a lot of time. There's really no other way to slice it. 38 minutes left on the clock for our top 8 match. And Justin Bokhari is looking pretty relaxed. Well, as soon as I say that, man, my curse is acting up too much here.
All right, it looks like the tech issue or whatever has been resolved, and we are back into the swing of things.
They just had to build up the suspense.
Yeah, of course, of course.
It's for the viewers at home. We're always cooking up different ways to make this interesting, and sometimes a nice little breather for us on the desk, the players at the table, and the audience at home is all you need to build that extra layer of excitement. We're heading down to the table now. We've got Comfey in the active, but Michael's going to go first, starting with a Manaphy. Capture energy, attach, return. We're going to search through the deck and find another basic.
I didn't get a good look at Michael's hand. Of course, you have that capture energy. You can find Oranguru or the Lugia V, and then hopefully get a good turn with a supporter like Professor's Research the following turn. Justin's hand, on the other hand, is pretty amazing. I think I saw a Battle VIP pass, Colress's Experiment, and of course you start the Comfey. There's not much else you can ask for.
Yeah, just those cards alone are exactly what you're hoping for when you're playing these Lost Zone decks. Michael taking a long look at the list. You have the extra time. Definitely make use of it. I'm seeing Snorlax. I'm seeing the Lumineon V. Lugia V being grabbed from the capture energy. Looks like everything that needs to be in the deck is in there. Double Turbo in the hand. That was a very key card for game 1. We'll see if Michael's able to hold on to this for long enough. It's always a heartbreak when these Lugia players have to discard a lot of special energy from their hand with the Professor's Research or what have you, just in order to get their deck up and running.
And now another update as we are getting into the start of this game 2. Noah with Vikavolt moves on to our top 4, winning 2-0 against Rowan.
Wow, congratulations to Vikavolt.
Yeah.
The item lock, we didn't really believe in it. Wasn't sure if it was going to find the right matchup spread for this particular tournament. But once it breaks into the top 8, it becomes a massive wild card. Michael now thinking about retreating this Manaphy just to bring up the Lugia V. You don't want your opponent to pop off with those 4 cards in the Lost Zone into a Cramorant, get an easy early prize.
Especially with how important having a Manaphy on the bench was last game. It was nowhere to be found. Moonlight Shuriken just wreaked havoc.
So valuing the Manaphy, you can already see the adaptation for both of these players. Justin Bokhari has to figure out and sequence this hand, visualizing and executing. Clara goes to the Lost Zone. Really unfortunate. Came in clutch in the latter stages of game number 1 to recover the Sableye and the energy back to the hand. But Scoop Up Net was the other card, and Justin wants to employ that because it's much stronger to complete your early ideas.
Now, with Justin starting off with the flower selecting, it tells me that he is looking for basic Pokemon. Otherwise, you'd play the Colossus Experiment, you'd play the Battle VIP Pass. You want to have as many basic Pokemon in your deck first for that flower selecting. Now, since you didn't really get it, you can go ahead and play that Battle VIP Pass, and from here, have a little bit of a more streamlined turn.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision point, right? Do you flower selecting, do you Colress first, do you do this or that first? And there's no cut and dry rule. It all depends on what your hand quality is, what you're starting in the active. And, if you have the Cramorant, you want to just put more cards in the Lost Zone. And what's great about this deck is it's not like the other Lost Box deck with the Rayquazas and the Raikos, where you have very thin counts of energy, so you're having to make tough decision after tough decision after tough decision. You're being much more straightforward with the Sableye and the Cramorant being part of your strategy. So concealed cards come through from Radiant Greninja off of Battle VIP Pass. Discard Psychic Energy to draw 2 more. And finally, Colress's Experiment is being used. 5 cards being offered off the top. Another Battle VIP Pass part of this. I think I see a Lumineon V.
Yeah, the Lumineon V is probably going to have to go to the Lost Zone. You found Zeraora, the one of Cramorant.
Oh, no.
And I did not get a glimpse of the last card, but it's obviously more important than that Lumineon V.
Battle VIP Pass also being sent to the Lost Zones. We're up to 3 cards now. Scoop Up Net is used to bring Comfey back into another flower selecting. Hisui and Heavy Ball going to be sent to the Lost Zone. Justin Bokhari already kind of got a look at the deck, knows what's in the prizes, doesn't need the Heavy Ball, rebenches the Comfey.
Now it's going to be interesting to see if Justin has the last way to get this Comfey out of the active spot, because then you can actually start attacking with Cramorant, get 110 down on that Lugia V. Means it's a lot easier for you to take a KO on it the following turn.
So this is a tough decision, right? After the flower selecting goes through and the player has to stop, evaluate the hand.
Every time you pick up your hand, you're like, okay, I got to look.
Water Energy is the choice, goes to the Lost Zone. I think maybe Justin, after kind of looking through the deck, was being a little precious about that Water Energy. There might be a few of them in the prize cards, but instead we have a Quick Ball discarding the Aerodactyl V-Star. And now Manaphy hitting the bench. Again, another card that you're trying to respect. Michael hasn't revealed that there is no Raikou in the list, but regardless, you're still thinning the deck out admirably and just putting this down.
Yeah, and that's just the matter of Raikou being so popular in these Lugia lists.
You have to assume it as a matter of course. I was absolutely surprised. I just kind of assumed it was in there, and you looked at the deck and noticed that it wasn't. And especially at this level of play, sometimes you might have played a player earlier on in the Swiss rounds, and you might have an idea of what they're running versus not. But we can tell that Justin Bokhari has a mindset and a strategy in mind for the Lugia matchup, and it's just going to execute on that. Zeraora now coming onto the bench. Escape Rope brings the Manaphy back into the active. Cramorant now in the active too. 5 cards in the Lost Zone. Spit Innocently can take this knockout as soon as Justin Bokhari's finished with sequencing the rest of this turn. There's the attach return onto the Comfey to offer a pivot if this Cramorant goes down. And there's the knock, 1 prize. Colress's Experiment's a fantastic grab, and indeed there is 1 more water energy in the prizes for Justin Bokhari.
And honestly, that escape rope was huge. Being able to take a knockout on that Manaphy, it is now gone forever for this game. There is no Pokemon recovery in the deck outside of something like Summoning Star from Lugia, but that can only grab the colorless Pokemon in your discard.
So Irida is actually the supporter of choice for Michael Battaglia this turn. Going to search for a water Pokemon and an item. With the Manaphy out of the equation, this is going to grab the Lumineon, like you talked about, Jeremy. Quick Ball also being eyed up here. So it could be an Archeops in hand that could be discarded. And then this is going to change it to the next supporter for the next turn. Michael's still in a pretty tough spot, right, with just Lugia V in the active spot. I think it's the Lugia V-Star in the hand, so we can get the evolution. And I believe 1 Archeops. We need to find a way to get the second one.
Well, Irida's going to do just that with the Quick Ball. At least it seems a way to discard the
Beautiful
Archeops out
evolution
of the hand.
incense. So with Lugia V in the active and no cards on the bench, it does look like Michael's going to be completing the strategy, completing the setup. Archeops being added to the hand from Evolution Incense. We just have to discard these and bring them back with Summoning Star.
Now, is there a way to discard, or is there already 1 in the discard?
I guess we'll see. Brace yourselves for Jump Scare Archeops number 2.
Listen, we have a Lost Zone counter. We need an Archeops counter for the discard.
Sometimes the players, you know, like when it's in the back of the hand for a research or the second card at the bottom of an Ultra Ball, the players just throw that into the discard pile. And I will admit readily that I can't see absolutely everything when it comes to the cards being slung back and forth here in the top 8. Still 30 minutes left on the clock, so not too much pressure on right now. Only the pressure of being down 1 game, certainly.
And that's a lot of pressure, I must say. Mm-hmm. And remember, both of these players get 75 minutes for this top 8 match. So game 1 did take quite a while to conclude, and it was kind of back and forth, but that was really just because Michael stayed asleep for so long.
And so we've got
oh no,
a double turbo energy attach brings Snorlax into the active. Evital was also employed here, and this means that with the Lumineon V potentially being used, we've got the 2 more bench slots once again reserved for Archeops. So these are the Pokemon on display right now that need to take 6 prizes, and this is already massively telegraphed to Justin, who opens up with Colress's Experiment.
That is not what
easy choices.
You want to open up game 2 with, is just a pass on your second turn, essentially, for this Lugia deck. And Justin has the box wide open for his Lost Box deck.
Yeah, and I like that Michael didn't evolve the Lugia V. You know, there is a chance that if Justin Bokhari had a means to bring this up, it might not be as good, right, of a target. You don't want to maybe target down the Lugia V. You would anyway, right, I think. But I guess if you just want to keep the card in hand, just to stay agile, kind of bluff at your opponent that you have a little bit more resources than you do.
Maybe say, oh yeah, I whiffed the second Archeops and the Lugia V-Star. But really, it was just one of them.
Yeah, it's just a mind game, right? Maybe your opponent tries to go a little bit greedier. We did see shades of that in game number 1, right? With the Snorlax in the active, there was that luck-pushing game line of going for the Lost Mine, hoping the Snorlax doesn't wake up so you can get another Lost Mine that paid off. But after the spit instantly, that's 110 damage onto Snorlax. There's no energy on this. It can't really swing back. It's just giving up a prize, trying to buy time for Michael. Lumineon V in the hand. Lugia V-Star in the hand. We've got a Quick Ball, but no means to get that other Archeops. We've got to grab another supporter here.
It's going to be rough, but it might be time for Professor's Research. You can Marnie. Your opponent does have a ton of cards in the hand thanks to all of Colress's Experiment.
Lumineon V being put onto the bench. Luminous sign to find a supporter. This is going to have to be a Professor's Research. There's a lot of special energy in the hand, too.
You could do a Bird Keeper. Hope the top 3 has an Archeops because you have the Quick Ball in hand already.
And the bench is full.
And
no Oranguru is going to help out here because we need the Archeops to come onto the bench. Looking through the deck, Professor's Research it is. We thought that, the primate wisdom was the make or break point, but this professor's research is going to be big. Thinning the deck a little bit more, discarding the V-Guard energy, grabbing a Lugia V out of the deck.
Again, right here, you just want to grab something that you know you're not really going to use, discard it with that professor's research, thin the deck out by that one extra card. Hopefully, you'll draw into an Archeops and a way to discard it.
And that's all he can ask for. That's all he can play towards. Sometimes in a TCG, you like to have as much of your plays as under control as possible. But other times, you've got to go Professor's Research, discard 2 cards, and go in blind for a big 7.
These 7 cards are going to be huge. Can there be an Archeops and a way to discard it? Quick ball. Evolution Incense.
Evolution Incense, Ultra Ball. It's coming together. So now he can actually put up a fight. The Archeops is grabbed out of the deck by the Evolution Incense. We can discard this with the Ultra Ball, find one more Pokemon to thin out of the deck, and then Summoning Star is online. Even if Lugia was a little bit delayed in completing its setup, we still have that threat potential as long as the Archeops stays healthy. Justin Bokhari's at 7 cards in the Lost Zone. Lost Mine is still within a stone's throw of being employed on the next turn. Meanwhile, no mana fee means that Radiant Greninja is a massive threat. There's no Dunsparce in this list like we talk about, so Zeraora is also a big threat. So many angles of attack being pointed at Michael Battaglia's bench right now that you're breathing a sigh of relief. Okay, I got my Summoning Star, but where do you even go from here?
Yeah, it is going to kind of be shades of Game 1 where this Snorlax is going to attack, and if it wakes up, it's going to be good for Michael, and if it stays asleep, Justin's just going to Lost Mine a few Pokemon again and again.
Yep, leave that Snorlax in the active precisely. Get a Lost Mine, even if the Snorlax wakes up instantly. If you spread your damage counters out efficiently, you're going to always be able to take those knockouts much easier down the road.
And again, 7 in the Lost Zone, so that is just simply a Colossus experiment and a flower selecting away from getting you to that magic 10 number for Stabilized Lost Mine. Now, Michael has both Archeops in the discard. What feels like forever, it's only been a couple turns, but finally gets that Summoning Star, and we'll start to see some swings from Michael.
Rangaroo was picked up. At this point, Michael's really hoping the Snorlax goes down to open up that bench slot, and Justin is going to deny it the same way he did in the first game. Primal Turbo now comes through. It's just going to be like an attach, retreat. It's rough. We already saw one Aurora Energy got discarded. I think the rest of the special energies are available in the deck. We're getting a nice look at it now, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'd love to see just double Turbo Energy, Capture Energy on that active Snorlax. Looks like just 2 capture, maybe 1 from hand. And then you can Primal Turbo, charge up something like that Lugia V on the bench, maybe even Lumineon V. But you run the risk of, if this Snorlax stays asleep, the energy that you put on could eventually just get knocked out in a few turns.
And so is using the least valuable energy to attach to the Snorlax here. 2 capture energy and the hiding dark energy. So this will grant access to finally that big thumping Snore attack. And who knows, he rolled a lot of tails last time. Maybe the Poke Flutes do come through for him this time, Jeremy. And the Snorlax will just take knockout after knockout, put in a lot of work, and do Lugia proud.
After Game 1, went to the Pokemart, bought a few more just in case.
And just has to consider, it's not just about, I want to knock out. You have to figure out where the rest of your KOs are coming from. So after that, here comes the dice roll. Heads.
Oh.
Okay. Tails.
Well, step 1 for Justin is secured. Snorlax is taking another long nap.
And now with Comfey into the active, this was already prepared long ago by attaching that water energy. It can retreat. Mirage Gate now coming through to attach on to the Radiant Greninja, already preparing for the Moonlight Shuriken to maybe slap down onto these Archeops.
This is exactly where Justin wants to be in this matchup. As soon as those Archeops come down, you want to target them so your opponent has less of an ability to kind of pivot through their different attackers. Lugia is known for just playing a bunch of different Pokemon that you can attack with.
And after the Colress's experiment, Justin Bokhari is, I believe, still looking for one more water energy to complete this play.
One more water. There is one on the active Comfey that you will retreat off, so maybe we'll see a preemptive ordinary rod.
One in the active, one on the Greninja, one in the lost zone out of a total of 4 in the deck.
I do believe there is at least an ordinary rod in the hand, maybe even an energy recycler to go along with it. And if that's the case, you can retreat, kind of guarantee it with another Mirage Gate. It is going to be wasting a lot of resources here, and Flower Selecting does find another Colossus experiment, but that's going to be for next turn.
And using the Mirage Gate, setting up the Radiant Greninja is already a bit of an extension.
Oh,
has the training court. I completely forgot about the training court in this deck. We didn't see it employed game number 1, but this is a fantastic resource. Grab that energy from the discard pile, attach it to the Pokemon here, and there is the Moonlight Shuriken.
90 damage on both those Archeops means it's just one lost mine from Sableye away from getting both of them sent to the discard.
Tails, and Snorlax still asleep.
This is not looking good. We don't see a Bird Keeper in hand, no bench space to play a Lumineon.
And the Stoutland V is there. This is the matchup that it wants to shine with the double dip Fangs. But Snorlax has been such a huge liability in this best of 3, and it's just snoozing in dreamland, completely unaware of the horrifying situation that Michael Battaglia finds himself in.
Michael taking the snooze you lose to heart with this Snorlax.
And with the Archeops Primal Turbo, we're looking through. There's still plenty of energy to be used, but not the right targets to receive them. The Lumineon V, there's no space on the bench to find that Bird Keeper on demand. And the double turbo plus a powerful energy being attached to Lugia V-Star. Michael Battaglia really wants this Snorlax to get knocked out so he can promote something else into the active, but Justin Bokhari is not going to let him have that luxury.
This has just been some unfortunate coin flips for Michael here in these 2 games. This is a card in Snorlax where you play it for this kind of matchup. It is there for kind of the paralysis that we've seen with Articuno and Zekrom, the likes of like Flaffy Box. But its Unfazed Fat also prevents those Lost Mine from picking it off later on in the game. It's just unfortunate. It is staying asleep on the worst turns, and I definitely know how that feels.
Yeah, the Snorlax is much better, you know, in the mid-late game, where just having something big that can survive one turn to slow down your opponent's prize acquisition while taking a key knockout by dealing 180 damage. But in both games, it's been forced to be employed as this early game attacker, and you can see how clunky this can be when you just have a Pokemon asleep in the active against a Lost Box deck that absolutely loves it when their opponent isn't taking knockout after knockout. You can just put all the cards you like in the Lost Zone at your own pace and then threaten with the Lost Mine.
Michael opting just for 1 energy on that Lugia V-Star. So it's now fully powered up, so even if these Archeops do get knocked out on the next turn, which is the most likely scenario, you'll still be able to have a couple of attackers going. And Michael will have to play the game from there.
And I'm sorry, was that a double attach?
No. So
he Primal Turbos.
Primal Turbos, the 4 energy onto the Lugia, and then attached from hand to that Lumineon V.
Heads and heads. Snorlax is... the other one was a reroll.
Table. That one's also rolling off the table. Oh, it was a Tails.
My
goodness.
This
is just not going Michael's way.
And Justin Bokhari was just waiting for the go-ahead to use this quick ball.
We know what's coming. It is that Sableye. Lost Mine is going to be the best attack in this scenario right now.
So Sableye grabbed out of the deck by the quick ball. It's already looking so thin. We know that Psychic Energy is ready to roll here too. And Radiant Greninja can just easily retreat with that 1 remaining attached water energy. Clara is in the lost zone, unfortunately, so it won't be easy to bring the Sableye back, but still, this is the perfect opportunity you need. Even if you aren't getting multiple reps, spreading around tons of damage, just taking out the Archeops is the main goal. Training Core also stays in play, and that means that Psychic Energy can be grabbed, and there's the Lost Mine. Both Archeops go down. Justin Bokhari takes 2 prize cards now, goes to 3 remaining. It's back over to Michael. Snorlax tails.
Justin is potentially 2 more attacks away from punching his ticket into the top 4 to join our other competitors.
And yeah, Snorlax, as you said, Jeremy, you snooze, you lose. You sleep, you weep.
Oh.
And Ultra Ball discards boss's orders in the powerful colorless energy. There's now 2 spots on the bench, so we can make use of some other attackers. The big point here is that Snorlax is stranded in the active. So after this Ultra Ball, we find, what are we looking for? Lumineon V, into Birdkeeper, into something, something, something.
Well, there is 3 cards, so it's something, something, something. We'll just have to see how it is.
But Oranguru is actually the grab. So we can finally make use of that Primate Wisdom to see a little bit more cards here. 1 more resource to rule them all. And what's the draw? I didn't see there. Looks like nothing. A pass.
Oh, no. This Sableye is going to wreak havoc once again. And Justin is in full control of this game. Snorlax, again, he's seen enough. He does not want to wake up for the way this game has been going.
Someone needs to take the Snorlax to a Pokemon Center. If it's been asleep this long, I think there's something wrong. This is no longer a light nap or a deep sleep. This is a coma. But Radiant Greninja going to use concealed cards, drawing 2 cards, and then you can use the Training Court to get an energy right back to attach wherever you'd like. It's been a long time, I think I've seen, since Training Court got a chance to put in so much work. The modern format relies so much on these stadium wars. The fight between Path to the Peak and Temple of Sinnoh and Lost City in Collapse Stadium, that Training Court just never gets a chance to stick for this many turns. Even against Lugia with no stadiums, they can just use Tempest Dive to discard the stadium. It just hasn't really come through.
I think we're going to see Justin set up for a 3 prize turn next turn with Moonlight Shuriken. Get some damage on something like the Lumineon V maybe, but if you do, then you run the risk of it getting Aqua returned back into the deck. But if Snorlax stays asleep, then that doesn't matter.
With 3 prizes remaining, the Zera Aura is still chilling on the bench. Maybe we could sprinkle some damage onto the Lugia V-Star, and then maybe start prepping against this Oranguru. Energy Recycler being used now. This is 5 energy from the discard pile, up to 5, to be shuffled back into the deck.
Just 3 right now. But more importantly, those water energy going back in the deck means the Mirage Gate that Justin just played from the hand is able to fully power up that Moonlight Shuriken yet again.
Yeah, nice little shortcut there. And so now we have Lost Mine for this turn. If Sableye goes down, we have the Moonlight Shuriken to follow up. And with Oranguru at 120 HP, we can put 3 damage there to set it up for the 90, maybe even Evital. But if it's just 3 on Oranguru, maybe 9. Oh, is actually going to put some damage on the Lumineon V. Going to try to force the Aqua return here.
You put 80, so it's 90 away from the knockout, and then you have 20 on that Evital, so it also sets it up for a knockout. And then the 20 on the Lugia will kind of help with that Zeraora, but you still need a little bit more, something like that Choice Belt.
Yeah, Michael putting a lot of energy into these rolls. You can see they're really going off the table now.
Well, every Tails you flip, I would throw that dice a little bit further.
I know. Put that one way to the side. Choose a different die for your rolls. But the Sandman is having his way with Snorlax right now. He is in a deep slumber and is not leaving the active anytime soon. It's going to be a Marnie. 1 card going down to the bottom for Michael. 5 cards. Just to put up a fight, just to stay alive in this game too.
There's no way for Michael to get out of this. Staying asleep, you needed to play that Birdkeeper so you can attack. And not attacking this turn means the Lumineon V sticks in play. And Justin, with the Sableye in the active spot, with the Radiant Greninja in the bench with the full energy, guarantees the knockouts.
So now that Snorlax, once again, the second game in a row, stranded in the active. Justin Bokhari going to clean this one up, and he advances. He's the Cinderella, and his opponent was the Sleeping Beauty.
The biggest thing about Justin, too, coming into this tournament, was sitting at 17th in the standings for the top 16,
world,
the top 16 Worlds race. And just every win, you're stacking those championship points. Already moved past Connor Fenton in 16th place and is looking to continually add those championship points, maybe even a win to go into the top bracket of those top 16 people.
Well put, Jeremy. We focus so much on the tournament at hand, at the game at hand, the turn at hand, but the implications of each victory has massive ripple effects for the long-standing careers of these players, where if you're in the top 16, you get these extra day 2 invites, you get your travel stipends, and so you can build up much more momentum for yourself as a competitor, and Justin Bokhari is doing just that.
Again, congratulations to Michael for making it this far. Top 8 is an amazing achievement, especially when it's over 1,100 players in the tournament. But like we were saying, it's not just about this win. It's not about that prize money and medal. That would be a lovely prize to end the day with. But Justin is looking for that top 16 race as well.
Yeah, he's popping off right now. That was a fantastic showing. The Sableye that used to be so feared and doesn't really seem to come through for these Lost Zone decks as much in this era has, you know, it was a nice kind of blast from the past, honestly, I think, to just have Lost Mine, just putting down tons of damage onto the bench. And I also